Welcome to Melanated and Spiritually Woke. I'm your host, Adorable Earth Angel. I'm a holistic wellness educator of 12 years with a master's in public health, energy healing of 7 years, and have been a Black female spiritual alchemist my whole life. Each week, we'll be sharing uplifting, spiritually focused wellness practices to best support you in regaining your personal power, or we'll have special guest interviews with the same intention. This show is in service to all those listening, and especially for folks of color who are seeking information to support their physical, mental, and emotional spiritual awakening. These practices will help you live your best life. Hi. Thank you. Hello to all the listeners out there. Thank you for joining this beautiful episode that we have for you. Some folks are listening to for the first time, and I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. This show is an uplifter. It's meant to be an uplifter. It's meant to be practical and spiritual and offer us an understanding of how to move the energy forward. There's a very specific lens in which I operate from, being a Black woman who's been doing health and wellness and spiritual related work for over 10 years, and coming from a lineage of people who have done this work. My great-great-grandmother is from New Orleans, and she was, for lack of better words, I guess she was a bruja, a healer. She worked with the earth. She worked with the elements, and a lot of people would really demonize spirituality as being something that's like worshiping the devil or worshiping something that isn't beneficent. And I think, in this moment for this week, we're working with a lot of Libra energy, and Spirit is just guiding me to talk about this energy of balancing out our viewpoints. Because this week is really, a lot has been coming up on the big stage. A lot has been coming up in a lot of personal aspects of our relations to other people. And I guess I bring up my background and I bring up where I come from, because I think a lot of people out there come from backgrounds, regardless of who you are as you're listening in, come from backgrounds where people had indigenous traditional practices that are not mainstream and that are not grounded in Christianity. And the viewpoint, right? There's a viewpoint of what that means based on how we were raised and what, when we're raised, we think this means this, and then as we're an adult, we formulate new understandings. And so there's this push and pull between who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, and what life teaches us through this aspect called justice. Libra energy, we're in Libra season. We just entered into Libra season officially this week. And it really pulls up this lens for us, this really beautiful, bright, harmonious lens of okay, I'm wanting the world to be right. I'm wanting justice. Now, where's the justice for a lost identity? As a melanated people, where's the justice for the parts of us that are lost when we assimilate and we assume this traditional white America ideology? A lot of folks would say that it's, for some people it's well, we have to evolve, we have to move on. Those are backward ways. And there's also this other, I saw this interesting quote. It was saying white supremacy uses the Bible to push forward its agenda. And then it went on further to say, but there were no white people in the Bible. And I thought that was very interesting because when you think about it, there aren't white people in the Bible. Nobody in the Bible is a white person. White people don't come on the scene until we start going into they don't come on the scene for a while, thousands of years later. So yeah, there is this kind of paradox of What does it mean to be and operate from a sense of balance within yourself? Like a truth of who you are on the inside and that meeting who you are on the outside, and the authenticity, but also the disharmony and the discord inside of each and every one of us when we can't really be who we are. And I've spent a lot of years, because I had come from that background, which is like, someone's like, oh my gosh, your great great grandmother was a voodoo priestess. Like, oh my gosh, she was like a witch and she practiced witchcraft, and that means you're a witch. And I'm, a huge part of me was like, wow, no, I'm not a witch. I don't practice witchcraft. I don't call it that. I'm a healer. And a lot of, there's this other aspect of what we do with women in society who claim their healing abilities, claim their healing powers. How empowering is it to know that I can heal myself and I can teach other people how to do the same thing? How is that a negative thing? How is it negative to be in a place of wanting to be an uplifter? This is where we get into history. Like when as a people, we've always been demonized. If it wasn't for the fact that we knew how to drum, they took our drums away, they took our language away, and then our abilities to connect with spirit and ancestors and healing, that is always being challenged. And so I'm curious for everyone out there in your life, if you, like, maybe some of you who are more conservative have already like tuned out of this radio, this radio episode. You're like, wow, this is just too much for me. Like, this challenges my belief system. Some of you are listening still and maybe are still challenged by what I'm saying. Some of you are probably like, girl, like, I completely am on this vibe with you. Like, so there's a spectrum of listeners. Like, I understand that too. And I want to give notice to that. Some people are like listening to this and they're like, what is she talking about? I couldn't fathom, that you would be defending, you defend this way of being, this understanding. But I have to bring this to the forefront that in these times, like, it really kills us to not really walk our walk and talk our talk and be who we want to be. And what did our ancestors perish for if not to allow us to really be ourselves? What did our ancestors perish for? And I think in this longer arc and schema, my understanding, especially after seeing movies like Black Panther, right? We're going to come back to Black. We're going to come back to Black. We're going to come back to spirituality in a bigger way. And when I say spirituality, I'm not talking about any organized religion. Like, I'm talking about like things that our ancestors did. Like, our ancestors were not Christians. They weren't. That was something that got used through manifest destiny to conquer and to convert people. And, and for some people who are listening who are Christian, I take actually no negativity around that. I actually love and work with Jesus all the time. Like, Jesus is an important part of my spiritual practice. Christianity is not. And you can have Jesus without Christianity. There is a thing. There's such a thing. And so I think that, wow, this feels like such a controversial episode. But I just kind of want to be myself on here. I want to speak the truth of like what it means to be yourself and speak the truth, and what happens metaphysically to your physical, mental, spiritual body when you try to suppress that truth. Because that's like, what is the definition of freedom? What is the definition of freedom in our lives if it's not to be able to fully feel and lean into a truth that is ours to claim? So, with that being said, all I had planned for today's episode was to talk about the energies of the week. And I also wanted to talk about a specific healing tool that I think could be really helpful that pairs nicely with the energies. The energies are really interesting because what we could start to notice now that we're in Libra season is that there's a need to create harmony and balance. And there's also like this really big, like, magnifying glass on what is not healing. a big magnifying glass on, big magnifying glass on what is not healing and what is not in harmony. And there's going to be a lens that we're all looking from where we can see that. And the question is, do you have the ability to speak to it? Because if you're in your office space, or you're with your sweetie, or you're with your child, and you see something that's not harmonious and that's not balanced, another challenging aspect of these times is, how do I say this in a way that's diplomatic and harmonious and sweet? When there's a part of me that is trying to navigate a language. And specifically, when we see injustice, this is a time where we can really see the injustice, because we can really see the imbalance. And even in seeing the injustice and the balance, how do we have compassion as we communicate? So communication is going to be huge this week. There could be some heartbreak, because the heartbreak is it will more than likely derive from the fact that there's aspects of just this unprocessed or untouched trauma that comes from having suppressed a voice. And especially when seeing disharmony, that things suppress and you're like, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm fine. And then it could be that there's a liberation. Maybe you manifest the very thing that you want, but there's a little bit of disruptive energy that comes through anyway, meaning like, for instance, like, I'll use myself as an example. So I host I host new moon gatherings at my house. And I was hosting a ceremony, and I was doing something in the ceremony that I've wanted to do for years. Like, I wanted to collaborate with a specific woman and do this work together. And we did it. And it was successful. But I noticed what came out of my mouth at a certain point when she was commenting on something that I did in the ceremony. She's like, wow, I really love when you did that energy healing thing. And I was like, yeah, and I said, yeah, and like, we should do it, she was like, yeah, we should do it at this other ritual. And I was like, yeah, and I've been wanting to do it for a while, right? I said, yeah, it's like almost like I couldn't hold back being like, yeah, and I wanted to do this years ago, I had to stop myself, and I realized, wow, there's a lot in there. There's just a lot in there. Like, I didn't know that I had been upset and was holding this resentful energy for not being able to express that side of myself. I had no idea until it happened, and then it was commented upon that it should happen in this other way that I had been wanting it to happen for years, but I hadn't been able to really fully express it out of fear. And it was just this interesting thing. And it was like this reverberation, and her and I both looked at each other when I did it, and I was like, wow. And I didn't try to clean it up either. I just let it happen. But there was just recognition that I was like, oh, that was an island, and island, what I mean by that? Like, that was like an emotional island. That was like a bubble that came up. And sometimes even in the fulfillment of the thing, there's sadness in it. When we reach a goal that we've always wanted, there's a bit of sadness that we couldn't have reached it sooner. And so as I'm coming into harmonizing, bringing forth the gifts that I wanted to bring when I was in that space of creating that ceremony, I also liberated and healed, but it had to express itself. My healing had to be on full display. And I'm learning more and more each day how to let myself be seen in my process. Not, because as a ritual leader, as a ceremonialist, as a healer, I could get put in this box where I'm supposed to be perfect and I'm supposed to do everything the right way. And that's not true. It's not true at all. And I know a lot of you, I'm wondering, are you feeling that? Are you feeling this energy come up where there's some things that are finally moving forward, but then there's this kind of bittersweet energy, or there's this like, you don't know where the aggression's coming from. Like there's like an anger. Because I know that is a theme energetically that's coming. We just had Saturn. I say this a lot, keep the planets in perspective. We had Saturn come forth, and we're just shifting our energies. We're shifting our energies towards things that can be tangible. And once we hit those tangible markers, there's energy that has been like, I'm just getting the image. Spirit is showing me like the image of just things have just been in the wings for you, right? You've been wanting this for so long. And when it comes, yes, there's a celebration, but there's also a suffer. There's a sorrow. It's bittersweet. And so there could be this bittersweet energy where things are being attained, and it's bittersweet because it's almost like it just feels like, oh, this could have happened already. Like I could have been had this, because when you finally see what it is, it's like, I could have been had this opportunity. I could have been had XYZ, fill in the blank. And so that's at the heart of everything for us in this moment, that we have the opportunity to be authentic, and in our authenticity, that we can bring harmony, that we can bring a harmonious environment. And we might notice like what we're doing also to keep the peace. We might find ourselves walking around on eggshells during this month because we don't want to rock the boat. Like where is it that we're trying to hide rocking the boat? But here's the thing that I just shared. It's like when you don't rock the boat, when you don't speak what needs to be spoken, that energy creates an island or a bubble of energy, and it will burst. It could burst out of your mouth. It could burst out in your actions. And it could be challenging. I wanted to talk about an energy healing tool for this week that could be really helpful. This processing tool is called flashcards. And I love this tool. It's not actually a tool. I mean, all connected tool with it. It's more of like a spiritual concept. I'm a bit of a spiritual scientist in that I like to see how energy presents itself, and I like to create words and analogies to explain things. And so this is what I would call this a flashcard. I think I've referred to this before in the past is like an echo. And so a flashcard is this. A flashcard in the metaphysical sense is this understanding that through karma, we get back what we put out. And if we put something out there and it's coming back to us in a way that we don't like it, it's called a flashcard. And if we get something back in a way that we like it, it's called a manifestation, right? A manifestation, I like to hold that in the positive framework. No one says, I want to manifest something bad. Like, no one said that ever, right? Like, I want something bad. That's not a manifestation. That's a flashcard. A flashcard is a negative manifestation. That's basically the defining feature of a flashcard. It's a negative manifestation. And so a flashcard is this. A flashcard is this energy that pops up. Now it could have been in your subconscious, and it's coming back around again. And all spirit wants to see you do in this moment is choose a different path. Is choose a different option. And in doing so, you then break the energy of that karma and have a new understanding of what's to come. And for some of you, karma is a Eastern term, from the East. And many people know what karma is, but I'll just share. It's the energy of Saturn, the energy of the planet Saturn, which basically is just whatever energy you put out there, you get back. And so if there's ever a negative manifestation, there's some karma attached to that. some of us get bogged down because we want to try to track down the karma. You're like, what did I do to deserve this? And that is honestly probably the worst thing you could do when a flashcard comes to you, because we're operating from the metaphysics of the law of attraction, which means that whatever you focus on, you get more of. So, I'll set up a scenario. You get a flashcard and it's not something good. And I'm not going to put any like specific example to it because I don't want us to focus on anything manifesting, right? But say that there's like a flashcard. I'm trying to think of something that's really innocuous. Okay, I found something. So say you go to a restaurant and they bring you the wrong food. And the flashcard is that this happens to you actually every single time you've gone to a restaurant. They get your food wrong. This is a moment where you can clear the flashcard. And clearing the flashcard looks like energetically not having an emotional response to that, to the degree that you call more of that to you. Now, if it's something where you need to express an emotion, it's not suppressing that. So letting yourself have an emotion and then soothing yourself and then saying, okay, this is what I want to order instead. And as soon as you make a different choice, right? Maybe in the past, not saying any of you would do this, but maybe in the past you would yell at the waitress or waiter and be like, this isn't what I wanted, right? That's not clearing up the karma. That's adding more of it. I invite you to take the scenario that I'm talking about and apply it to something that's really happening in your life. What is something that you're yelling at? Maybe not literally, but figuratively. What is something in life that we're yelling at right now? Because this is the time to balance the karma. It's the Libra energy, so it's softer. And it's like, okay, I'm going to bring harmony. I'm going to bring serenity. I'm going to bring peace to this situation. It's a peaceful time. More than any other time, this is the perfect energy to deal with any type of energies that, if there's any struggles around injustice that you are feeling, it's like, how do I sit with the energy of injustice and find peace and serenity? This is very much like the Martin Luther King Jr. energy, right? It's this energy of peace. And with this statement around this flashcard, that the flashcards that are coming up this month, there's just an opportunity to pivot towards like a higher mindset around it. So whatever's coming at you this week and next, how can I pivot no matter what? I don't have to convince anyone of anything. I don't have to get them on my side. I don't have to get them on my team. Unnecessary. All that's being asked is that, can you sit with this flashcard and be able to create a pivot? Be able to create an opportunity for things to shift and change and pivot? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. There's totally an opportunity to do that. Because as you begin to pivot the energy, it opens up to more opportunity to have more personal power. A lot of our personal power is caught up in karma. And that energy is the energy that we can use to change our lives. But if we're mad at the waiter, and that plays out all the time we go out to eat in this analogy, all that energy is trapped. That's the energy. That's like the energy for the new car, the mate. That's the energy for the raise at work. That's the energy for you spending time with your kids. It's trapped in this karmic loop. And then when the flashcard comes, it's the universe saying, okay, here's the opportunity. Here's the flashcard. What are you going to do? And when you choose a different option, that means that you break that loop. You break that cycle. And that is insurmountably exciting and beautiful to be in that place of breaking a loop, breaking cycles, and moving forward. It's kind of weird. I get excited when a flashcard comes. Not like a really big flashcard, but like something that's, I mean, I guess there's no such thing as a big one these days. They haven't been as big. I like them, so, and it's really helpful because it means that I don't have to really suffer as much. I'm like, okay, this isn't fun. I've talked to this situation, this person, this thing, and here it is again. But you know what? My reaction to it isn't emotionally charged. And so that means that it's leaving my life. Anything that that emotionally charges us, the more emotionally charged we are, the more intense the experience and the more of it that comes. The more and more we relax and we dissipate our connection to negativity, it just evaporates out of our lived experience. And what that means is that our frequency, the vibration of us and that thing, there's distance that's being created. And so if it's staying in a high vibratory state means that basically you're not going to be in a situation that's negative for you. You're not going to be in a really negative place, really negative situation. Right? And that's where we're all trying to go. That's ultimately where we're trying to go and do and be. And so the modus operandi for us right now is this energy of the Libran energy, as we are firmly in Libra space. We're firmly planted in this energy of beauty and harmony and abundance. Libra is also about abundance, and abundance comes when we're in a high vibratory state or radiating a frequency that's at the energy of wealth and abundance and energy. And so, I really wish that for everyone this week, to be mindful of the flashcards in forms of people, places, and things, nouns, basically, and that when you come up against these energies, that you just relax, you take a breath, take some space, look at what this flashcard is wanting from you. Is it wanting anger? Is it wanting you to get sad about it? And just kind of holding this neutral, objective energy, creating a little bit of an energetic bubble, breathing in 3 times. And then from that perspective of being in an energy bubble, what options do you have that are different from the options that you took in the past? And how can you pivot towards an option that makes sense? How can you forgive people when they're saying things that are not just? And how can you trust that by forgiveness and compassion that you can energetically heal something in your physical 3D reality? Because it's real. I think a lot of times we won't, like the opposite of Libra is Aries energy, which means that that's not the energy that we want to be using. Sometimes we could be tempted to go the opposite direction, but the Aries energy in this month is not going to be as effective. Aries energy is pushy. It's like, this is what's happening. This is my opinion. It's like the caveman approach. And it's like, that's not the energy that's going to really do well. The energy that's going to do well is to be like, just kind of seeing both sides of things, kind of being just, I'm not going to commit, and just kind of being like, well, it's a very like, it's definitely, it's diplomacy. And it's also just like compassion and forgiveness. It's like, okay, like I see that me and this person have a difference in opinion. And I know that somehow there was a life that they lived that got them to that path of understanding. And I know that somehow I lived a different life, and I don't have to hate them or abhor them for that. I can just be like, okay, like this is different. And that's the energy that we're seeing right now, as things are shifting in this month as we go into the fall season in the Northern Hemisphere. And as we shift into, what would that mean? The spring season for the Southern Hemisphere? That would be the opposite, right? Fall, and then, spring is the opposite of fall. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave this energy here for you with this flashcard. I hope you got the process. This month is bringing a lot of flashcards. The flashcards are coming at an accelerated pace. because we are speeding up on this planet Earth. We are speeding up in our timeline. Like a quantum leap of energy is shifting for everyone here. And I bet you feel it. Like maybe this summer was a bit of a low. I spoke to that a lot in my past videos, like my past episodes, why it was so slow going. And now things are going to be speeding up a lot faster. Saturn's moving faster. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is doing its thing. And we're getting deeper and deeper into more expansion in our everyday lives. And a huge part of it is just to have some forgiveness and compassion for the people around you. And yeah, there's no need to convince them of anything. They're going to think what they're going to think, and you can just let the flashcard go. And then there'll just be more energy for you to put things just like basically like what really matters, and placing things in areas of your life that really matter. So there you go. The flashcards are coming, and you have all the tools that you need to clear that energy. There's more complicated things that I could talk about on how to clear up energy. And I want to create space to do that. A lot of what I want to share is visual. How to and you would need to see me in order to understand how to do it. And I want to create opportunities for me to show you some videos of some energy clearing tools that you could use when you're coming up against some pretty challenging situations. Things that I've done with energy healing that have in minutes and seconds changed and shifted what was happening in my lived experience. And so I'm going to work on that on my end. But until next week, thank you for tuning in. I love you. I am in support of your growth. I think you're doing great. And I think we could all just do really well to just give ourselves a break. And that's this energy right here. Give yourself a break. Choose the higher path. Pivot towards the light. And see if you can be an earth angel, just being a loving light towards everyone you see, everybody around you, giving them love and positivity, even if they say things that are just so irksome and just out of a place of ignorance. Just upholding the light, it raises the frequency. Do that with me. Let's raise the frequency of our workspaces, the school spaces, our communities. Let's do that together. Until next week, I will send you lots and lots of love. Ashe. Thanks for listening.